Good afternoon, you guys. Welcome back to Spillin' It.
Welcome back. This afternoon, we have Jen Anderson, and we are so excited to have her on the podcast. She is going to share her story of her husband who went through a long 8-year brain cancer battle that ended up eventually taking his life. But we are so happy that you are willing to come on and share.
Very honored.
Yes.
That you would come and share your story.
Yeah.
Overcoming. I know it's a tough subject. It's a tough thing, but we're so thankful that you're here.
Well, thanks for having me. And I just want people to know that it's a battle that is an ugly battle.
Yeah.
But there's some things that come out of it that I feel like people need to know too.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure. So can you take us back to when you guys got married?
Yep.
What year-ish was that?
So it was 2014 we got married. My husband was healthy, had no issues. We dated about 5 years before that. We had a great relationship. We had fun. And when we got married, things awesome, great. And then that winter, so we got married in June of 2014. I would say probably around Christmas time of 14, 15, he started getting headaches.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And, it didn't really register much to me or even him.
Yeah. Like daily headaches?
Not right away. It was kind of just maybe a couple times a week.
Okay, yeah.
And then it started getting to be like every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just told him well, maybe you should, go to the doctor. And you know how guys are. They don't really like to go to the doctor.
Oh my gosh, yes.
True.
Ethan's always like, I'm fine.
Yeah. I'm like, well, when was your last physical? He's like, I don't know. And I'm like, well, you should probably get a physical.
Yeah.
And so finally, then he started getting spotting in his eyes.
Okay.
And that was when I'm like, no, we're making an appointment for you. I guarantee you have migraines. His sister had migraines.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee it's migraines.
Yeah.
And so he's like, okay. So he goes to the doctor. The doctor does his blood work, all the physical stuff that, you do on a normal physical. And he's like, you're in great health. Everything's great. But maybe see an ophthalmologist to see if you need glasses. So he ended up having an appointment with the ophthalmologist, and then that happened, and the ophthalmologist at the time, she said, we see swelling behind the optic nerve on the right side.
Yeah.
So we are going to order an MRI.
Yeah.
And, at that time, I didn't really think much of it, because I didn't know anything about brain cancer or brain tumors or anything. And so they ordered that, and I kind of started thinking when they got him in right away for an MRI, I'm like, okay, this is kind of strange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like a 6 a.m. appointment.
Was it the next day?
It was.
Or within?
Yeah, it was within days. It wasn't weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
And got home, and it was I think about an hour later, the ophthalmologist called and said, we found a tumor behind your optic nerve.
Oof.
Oh.
We both were like, well, what? What does that mean? And they're like, you need to see a neurosurgeon.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, okay. This is starting to freak me out. I don't know what to expect. My husband was very just even kill, things didn't bother him. And he was like, it is what it is. It is okay, I guess I'll just go in, whatever they need to do.
Yeah.
So we live in Duluth, went to Essentia, St. Mary's, to the neurosurgeon there. And I think, we got in the appointment, it was within a couple days.
Oh, okay, well, yeah.
we go into the office and Mike's mom came with because I'm like, I need someone else there to hear too.
Right.
Yep.
And we sit down and the neurosurgeon's just like, this is severe. This is bad. You better get your life in order.
Oh, jeez.
Do you have wills? Do you have all the things? And I'm like, what?
Wow.
Like we went from we have a brain tumor to like, now we're like at the end of our life. Like
right.
What's going on here?
How old was he at the time?
29
or 30. Okay. So this is when he was 29 or 30. They're saying this.
Yes. And,
holy cow.
And it was pretty much almost like a year after our wedding anniversary.
Wow.
And so we're in the office and this neurosurgeon's telling us like, it's a 6-week recovery. You'll be in the hospital for like a couple weeks. We'll do the surgery. Then the next day we'll do an MRI. And if we see anything more, then we'll open them back up and do another surgery. And he's going to have to take a couple months off of work. And, and this is, it was like, holy crap, like what's going on?
Yeah.
Like, I went from a tumor to now like our life has changed forever.
Yeah.
And so we are like, okay. And he's like, well, I have an opening on Friday. And this was like a Wednesday. And I'm like,
in 2 days? Like in 2 days?
Yeah.
Holy
And
cow.
I'm like, what? Like, and he's like, yeah, we need to get moving. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's like, why don't you go have coffee and talk about it and then give me a call back? And I'm like,
what?
So let's go have coffee and figure out my husband's life now. Like, what?
You're like, I'm going to need more time than that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm
what
like,
the heck?
Okay. And we walk out of the office and Mike's mom and I look at each other and we're like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And we went home and we're like,
You didn't have coffee?
No.
You're like, I'm not going to get coffee.
I'm not having coffee.
Yeah.
Like, I can't stomach coffee right now.
Oh my gosh.
And so we go home and I'm like, we both were like, I don't know. Like, this seems really weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I just feel like we need a second opinion.
Yeah.
Smart.
Good call.
And so, you hear, okay, everyone goes to Rochester, to the Mayo. So I'm like, okay, let's get everything sent over to Rochester. And we meet with the neurosurgeon in Rochester, but we didn't have to drive down there. We could just talk over the phone because they had all the scans, they had everything. Yep. At the point before the appointment, we found out Mike's insurance doesn't cover the Mayo.
Oh, geez.
And so we're like, okay, well, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so we're like, well, let's keep the appointment. We want to hear what this neurosurgeon has to say.
Yeah.
And he was very pleasant, like, yes, this is a tumor. We need to remove it. I'm like, now, do we need to do it like tomorrow? And he's like, no, like this has been growing for a decade.
Wow.
Jeez.
So like he can.
He's like 2 days isn't going to make it double in size.
No.
Yeah.
He's like, so you're fine, but we, probably within a month or two, we do want to get it out.
Okay.
And I'm like, so how, like, what's the procedure like here? And he's like, well, we have a inopportune MRI machine where when they're in surgery, they're taking MRI scans throughout surgery.
What? That's cool.
So they can, so they're like, we don't have to open you back up if like after the surgery find out that, we missed something.
Yeah.
We need to go back in. And I'm like, oh, that sounds amazing. Because like, okay, let's just cut your head open again and let's just dig it around in your brain a second time after you just close me up.
Yeah.
And he's like, recovery, you'll probably be in ICU for a day or two. And then you might get discharged to a regular room or you actually might just get discharged completely and you can go home. And I'm like, okay, this is different than what Duluth was telling us. They're like, you know, we're going to be weeks in the hospital.
We might have to open you back up.
I'm like, okay, this is weird. And he's like, you know, he's going to need a couple weeks off from work. And he's got some weight restrictions and stuff like that, but he'll be able to like function. And I'm like, okay, so do we need to like plan his funeral? Like, I mean, basically that's how it felt like in Duluth.
Right.
And he's like, no, you know, it'll like,
so we don't have to get our life together like yesterday.
Yeah. So he's like, I'm like,
wow,
a weight lifted off.
Yeah.
And so then, you know, we have this appointment. I'm like, okay, I think this is where we want to go. But then we're like, oh crap, they don't cover it. They don't cover it. So how are we going to be able to afford this? Like a brain surgery isn't, you know, just, you know, $5,000.
Nope.
Like, you know, it's
a house.
It's a, it is
it's a house.
a lot.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay. So then we talked to this neurosurgeon at Rochester and just said, where would you recommend us go?
Yeah.
And he said, the main U in Minneapolis.
Yeah. Okay.
So he sent all our stuff to the main U. We had Dr. Hunt at the main U, the neurosurgeon there.
Okay.
And we met with him. We actually physically like went down and met with him, and his description of how everything was going to go was like spot on with the Rochester Mayo guy.
Yeah.
Like,
Awesome.
I'm like, okay, like this feels good. Like, I think in both, like Mike liked him. He felt comfortable.
Yeah.
Mike worked in, he did the weather for all the airplanes coming in and out of Duluth. So like the neurosurgeon like loved weather. So they started talking about weather and different things. And, you know, I was like, oh, okay, I feel like this is a good fit. I liked him. Like we just had that connection. So then in that August, so this was in June, in August, we scheduled his surgery. Surgery was, I think it was about like 9 hours long.
Wow.
It was long.
So can I ask, so when Nevaeh had her brain surgeries, it was from like her ear kind of all the way up to the top, and then the other side was like this part of her ear kind of backwards.
Okay.
How was his?
His was literally
entire.
Yep.
Okay.
Frontal lobe. Yep.
Frontal lobe. Okay. And then his tumor was literally right behind
his optic nerve. So his eye. So like why I was getting the headaches is because it was finally getting big enough.
Yeah.
And it was, you know,
putting pressure
on that.
Okay. Okay.
He, the surgery, like it was great. Like they kept coming out, telling us, calling us, letting us know how things were going. And so that was a relief because I'm, you know, my family's there, Mike's family's there. We're all like, okay, what's going on?
Like for 9 hours. Can you imagine not hearing anything?
Yes. So when we found out that he, you know, was out, the neurosurgeon came out and took me and Mike's parents aside, and he explained like everything went really well. We got, you know, everything. You know, we'll biopsy it now. We'll see what the next steps are. And I don't know. I can't remember like if it was his mom that asked or I asked something about like, what does this mean for like Mike's life?
Yeah.
You know? And he at that point did say like, I hate to say this, but like this will kill kill him. It's, he's not going to die of a heart attack or, you know, like of old age. This will take his life. It's not going to be, you know, tomorrow. He can still live a happy life. But it is a type of tumor that it's not going to not come back.
Right. Okay.
And so that was kind of shocking. Like I was thinking, oh, hey, I guess I didn't think that. Like you think, that, oh, a brain tumor, once it's out, and we're,
You're
good
fine.
to go.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Mike did really well with recovery. He was able to, I think he was in there for 2 nights, and he was like, I want out.
Yeah.
And that was the type of person he was.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He is like, I'm fine. I'm going to get out of here. So he did all the tests that he needed to do to get out.
Yeah.
And we ended up staying another night at his aunt and uncle's. They live in Lakeville. Just because I'm like, I want to be somewhat close to the hospital just in case we have to rush back in.
Yeah.
And
you're all the way in Duluth. And
yeah. And I'm like, I just want to have that security. So he did fine. We, went home. It just like, you could see, he was very swollen. He had black eyes. It was not pretty.
Right.
But he was still like laughing. And he like, I think when he finally got to eat, he was like, where's my cheeseburger? Like just very.
I was going to ask how his like demeanor was.
Yes.
Finding out, because that's like a big news.
Mm-hmm.
But also you want to make sure that everyone around you is like okay with it too.
Yeah.
Like, if I got diagnosed with that, I know that I would worry about his reaction and everybody's reaction to that too.
Yes.
So he was pretty
like,
this is fine.
This is fine. And even like when I got worked up, he always calmed me.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, Jen, it's okay. We're going to be fine. Like, we've got this. Like, it's okay. And so he was like he was actually my person. Like, he got me through this.
Right.
Which he was the one going through it. So it's like,
right.
Okay, how does that work? I should be the one doing this. Like, I should be getting you through it. And instead you're the one getting me through it.
It's hard though, because you're like, that's hard news.
Yeah.
To hear anyway.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like you're both kind of dealing with it. And you just got married. Like, in a year of this happening.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
so, everything's just like, whoa. So, his biopsy came back and it was an astrocytoma grade 2 tumor, which meant he didn't need chemo. He didn't need radiation.
Wow, good.
But he needed scans every 3 months.
Okay.
So every 3 months we drove down, he had his scans. We met with the oncologist. Then they would go over the scans with us and tell us, things are good. And everything was going well.
Mm-hmm.
Things were fine. And then in 2017, he had another 3-month scan, and they said there's more to it. It's a tumor growing back.
Oh. So this was a couple years
Yep.
after? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And so
So does it grow back right in the same spot?
Yeah, but it
Okay.
kind of like it kind of has like these arms.
Yeah.
And they kind of like branch out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So at that point, met with the neurosurgeon again. He's like, I feel confident. We're going to go in. It'll be fine. Like, we can get it, we'll get it out. And, again, here I am freaking out. Like, and my husband's just like, okay, whatever. Just do what you have to do. And I'm like, you're having brain surgery. Like, they're cutting your brain open.
Yeah.
This is not just, you're getting a cut, or, or like you're taking stitches or whatever. Like, I'm like, this is your brain.
Right. It was like Nevaeh. She said, I just like go to sleep and I wake up, it's over.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
If that's what, but it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like kind of like you're saying. It's that like, it's fine. I just go to sleep and I wake up.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay. So he had a surgery. Again, probably, maybe it was a little bit shorter this time, but it was still probably 6 to 7 hours long.
Wow. Yeah.
And, surgery went well. They tell us afterwards that surgery went great. We went, I think Mike was in the hospital for like a night in the ICU, and then he's like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Get me out of here.
Yep.
Done and done.
And I'm like, I just don't know. I don't like when, like, oh, maybe you should stay another night. And he's like, I'm fine. Let's just go.
Yeah.
And I think that one, he had like a roommate, and it just was, he's like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
Like, this is not my place. And that biopsy came back as a astrocytoma, or I can't even remember the name exactly, but it was a grade 3. So it went up.
Got it.
And
so what does that mean?
So that means it is
like,
so like, with breast cancer, it's like, what is it called?
It's not a stage.
Okay. Yeah. So like theirs is like a stage. For brain cancer, it's like a grade.
Oh, okay. So like breast cancer is like stage 2.
2. And it's kind of the same thing, but it's
the higher the number, the worse.
Worse it
the
is.
more aggressive that it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like it's a grade 3. He's going to require radiation and chemo. And so we're like, okay, what does that entail? And so for brain tumors, chemo isn't injectable.
Okay.
It's pill form.
A pill. Okay, yep.
And so it's pretty well tolerated. I mean, you can still get sick and whatnot.
Yeah.
But you're not sitting in the hospital getting an injection day in, day out.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, like, you don't lose hair from it. It, is pretty well tolerated, like they said. And then for radiation, it was 6 weeks of Monday through Friday, going in for like the
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I wasn't aware that radiation was so like
quick.
Monday through Friday.
Yeah.
Like it's like every day.
Yeah.
Almost basically.
Yeah.
And it's just a quick, did he have it on the same?
Yes.
They like made a little spot on his head.
So they actually make a mask. Yeah. And, they have to sit in, like, they pretty much drill you down into this, like, machine, and you just sit in it.
Was he ever claustrophobic in that
No.
thing? I'd freak out.
I know. I am very claustrophobic. So, like.
Yeah, you would.
Be like, give me a Xanax or something.
Yes,
pass me out.
Uh-huh.
Because I've seen the mask thing, and that alone is scary looking.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're
they're radiating it like with this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, so do we need to come down to to the cities for this radiation?
Right.
And they're like, actually we can send it to Duluth. The radiation is the exact same.
Yep.
Yeah.
We trust, the doctor, the radiologist or whatever.
Right.
That, they can do it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's great.
Yeah.
We can just drive down to the hospital. And at first, like, I was working at this point. I was a teacher.
Okay.
And so, like, I had time off, but I didn't because, you know, when he had these surgeries, I needed to take time off.
Right.
So I didn't really have a lot of time to be like, okay, well, I can take off every day to bring you down to radiation.
Right.
And so they said, no, he can drive down on his own. The first couple times, I'm pretty sure I'm remembering right. Maybe his grandpa dropped him off, or maybe his parents. It's all so blurry to me.
Right. Because it's a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot of appointments.
Yes.
A lot of,
Yes.
So he did that. He tolerated it well. He was just really tired.
Yeah.
But his schedule was 3 to 11 for where he worked. So
Okay.
he never missed a day of work.
Wow.
Through any of it. He'd come home, he'd probably nap for a while. And we were flipping homes at the time. So still a lot of times he'd just go to the next house and he'd be working on the house and doing whatever he needed to do.
Yeah.
Before he had to go to his real job at 3.
Yeah.
And so the radiation went well. Then he got on the chemo, and I think he was on it for a year.
Wow.
I mean, it was a long time.
Yeah.
Everything just blurs together.
Mm-hmm.
He handled it well. I mean, he's definitely tired. There was a couple days he'd get nauseous.
Yeah.
Sure. But again, never missed work.
Yeah. So did he feel like just I gotta do it and I'm just gonna keep
this is what I have to do?
Yeah.
But back up a little bit, I think before he started the treatments, they asked us if we were thinking of having children.
Yeah.
And we said yes.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, you can't do that when you're on chemo. Like, that's just it's not an option. And I'm like,
right. It's like,
okay.
Isn't it like poison?
Yeah, it's poison.
Yeah. Okay.
And they like, even like after he'd go to the bathroom, like they want you to like wipe the seat down with a Clorox wipe. Really? And like, I mean, it's
yes.
Yeah. So
I was not
yeah. Like I didn't know that either. I'm like, oh, okay. We have to be really careful with this.
Yeah.
Like, oh.
Yeah.
And I even asked him like, well, what's the big deal? And I'm like, you're putting poison into his body. Why is it so bad for me? And it's just, I get it. It is.
Yeah.
It's just, it's bad.
Right.
So before then we decided, well, then we should probably go in and have a sperm bank.
Yeah.
So we did that, which isn't uncomfortable. Like, I don't know if you've ever done it. I just think like what he had to go through.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, for how like quiet and reserved. And I'm like, oh my God.
Like, go back in this room.
Yeah.
Here's a movie.
Yep. And just
some
take
pictures
care
of your wife.
And I am like,
make your deposit.
Like,
Ethan, so when he got snipped, he had to do that. He was like, that was so freaking weird.
Yeah.
Like, because they have to test it to make sure. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, no, that is, as a woman, I can't imagine going in this like white freaking room and being like, okay,
here I go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Right. And then everybody leaves like,
here you go.
Yeah.
Like,
you bye.
Yeah.
Everybody here knows what's happening.
Yeah. So that was weird.
Yeah.
So we did that before he went on chemo.
Okay. Okay.
And then,
did you guys talk about how many you wanted to have before everything?
Yeah, like
happened?
we had said, like we'd probably want like 2.
Okay. Yeah.
2 kids.
Yeah.
Definitely we're like he's a big hockey guy.
Yeah.
He wanted, and we both were hockey people.
Yeah.
So we both were like, a boy would be awesome.
Yeah.
Like, then you can be his coach and you can be his little league coach. Like, it'll be just great.
Yeah.
Not that obviously a girl's wonderful, but like we just had this like, I can just see it. Like he's going to be the best dad to like a girl, but I can just see him out in the yard playing with the boy,
Right.
Yep. So yeah, we kind of talked like, oh, we want 2 probably.
Okay.
So then, he was on the chemo, and at that point, I think we started talking like, okay, I think we want to start trying to have kids.
Right.
But obviously when you're on chemo, you can't do that. So, we had to do IUIs.
Oh, okay.
And that's basically.
An IUI is
intrauterine insemination, right?
Yep.
And it's different from IVF because
it's not like it's like a turkey baster.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's just basically inserted in you, and it's not like fertilizing an egg and then having like it's just.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
So
they're just doing the act for you.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay.
So I think we had 1 done, maybe 2 done, and they didn't take.
Okay.
So then I went to my OB and they did
like an ultrasound,
and they're like, oh yeah, you don't look like, this doesn't look like you're gonna be able to have kids.
Oh geez.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, what? Like, they're like, yeah. I think the best way for you is gonna be IVF.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, okay. And so we again then we're like, okay, well, we'll go. One of my friends was going through IVF at the time, and so she was kind of experiencing it, and she told me a couple of the clinics and stuff like that. So we went down actually to Woodbury, to one of the clinics, met with those people and did all the testing and all the different fun stuff that you have to do. And it was just this long process and expensive, and we're like, okay. And then I was put on a couple different hormone drugs and a couple different things. We hadn't done IVF yet. We were still like doing IUIs. And then at that point, Mike had been off the chemo for enough time where we could try. Naturally.
Yeah. How long is that? Like a couple?
I feel like it was like, could have been like a year or like 6 months. It was a while. I mean, it had to be clearly out of his system or something.
Yeah.
I was on some hormone treatments and different shots and stuff like that, and it didn't work. And we were kind of like, okay, well, go. We did another IUI, didn't work. And so I don't know what year it was, 18 maybe. I don't know. We went on our anniversary trip. We usually would go on a trip on our anniversary, and we went on a road trip out west and went to Lake Colorado. And, and on that trip, we both just were kind of talking about it, and we're like, we already have so many bills with his.
Yeah.
Right.
Even though like people are like, oh, you have health insurance, it's paid for. And I'm like, yeah, not so much. Like we have
they
like,
only pay
$50,000, in debt of, this surgery, or, we have
and chemo
drugs,
and
that stuff isn't always covered. And one of his pills was $1,000 a pill. And
wow,
it's like, you don't, insurance says it's covered, but it's not fully covered.
Right.
I mean, it's better than not having anything, but it's not good.
Right.
And we're kind of like, $40,000 right now to possibly have a kid. Like, not sure. Like,
that's so hard because that's insane money.
Yeah. And I'm like, I think we're just going to be us.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And we're both like, okay with that. And I don't know. I can't, again, time is so weird to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was before. I think it was before that trip. I was just getting the runaround with like the OB stuff and like fertility clinics. And I'm like, okay, like why? They keep saying I can't have kids, but like, why? Like, what's going on?
Right.
So finally I'm like, I'm going to the U down the cities, and I'm having.
You're like, forget any other hospital from now on.
Seriously.
We're just going to the U.
I'm like, okay, we're just going to go where I'm like, I'll just see what they say.
Yeah.
And so I see this, OB, and she'd been there forever. And like, after my exam, she looks at me, she's like, you're totally fine to have children.
What the heck?
Wow.
And I'm like, what? Like, she's like, you're okay. Like, you have no endometriosis. Like, you are just fine. Like, like, I have nothing here that shows me that you're going to have a hard time having kids.
Wow.
Where were the other people coming from?
And
what
I'm
were they
like,
looking at?
What?
Wow. And
so that was like shocking in itself. And I'm like, okay. Then then I think, then we went on the trip, and I'm like, you know what? We're not doing IVF. I think we're just, if it happens, it happens, but we're fine if it doesn't.
Right.
Because like, she's telling me I'm fine, like, whatever.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, like probably a month later, I get pregnant.
Oh my gosh.
And had no drugs, no like, no IUI, no hormones, like nothing.
Wow.
And it was like when I got the pregnancy test, I like called my best friend.
Yeah.
Didn't call Mike, called my best friend, and I'm like, you've got to be like, so she comes running over to my house, and like, oh my God, and I'm like, get another pregnancy test. Like this, it's got to be not real. And sure enough, it was, positive. And so Mike was at work at that point. And so I think I went and I got a baby book saying like daddy something, and like a bib or something, and wrapped up the pregnancy stick.
Yeah.
Which is kind of gross in a way, but I
think that's what everybody does.
Yeah.
You're like, here's it. Here's my pee stick.
So, he gets home and I don't know, he sits down. I'm like, oh, I have a gift for you. And, gave it to him and like he opens it and he was even like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
are you sure?
Like, yeah.
That's wild.
Like,
yeah.
We're pregnant. And he's like, oh my God, like, are you serious?
Yeah.
And so that was like exciting and we're like crazy and this is like great. And, Mike at that point, his cancer was like, everything was going good, stable, scans. We were still going at that point. Then I think it was every 2 months we were going down to get scans.
Okay.
And things were looking good. And then so this is where everything gets really foggy for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was, so our daughter Emmy was born March 19th of 2020. So COVID lockdown.
Yes.
And we didn't know if Mike was going to even be able to be in the room while I'm giving birth. Luckily, he was able to be there. And like, of course, nothing goes easy. Like, I was in labor for probably almost 24 hours and nothing was progressing. Mm-hmm. Luckily, my OB from Duluth, like, amazing. I love her. She's like, she was amazing.
Yeah.
She was on. So like, that was a blessing in disguise because half the time you don't get your OB anyways.
Right.
Yep.
But her shift was over.
Oh.
Like, and she's like, I'm staying on.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do a C-section.
Oh, okay.
And so we did the C-section and so she delivered my baby. And like, to this day is just like the best thing ever. And me and we're like close. Like we're friends now. Like I just love her. Like she helped me through a lot, you know? And so had her, had Emmy, it was like, ended up staying in the hospital probably 4 days just because like I ended up needing a blood transfusion and like I was, you think of coming home, like you dream of like having a baby and like getting the cute robe and looking all cute and taking these wonderful pictures.
Yeah.
And I looked like a big blimp and I like literally was so swollen that I was fitting into Mike's sweatpants. Like I could not fit into any pants or anything I owned. And I'm like, okay, this is real fun. I see people like my sister that had her son and walked out in her jeans that she wore when she was 18.
Oh,
like, and I'm like, oh, yeah, not me, So that, it was great. Like we had just moved into a new house and we were renovating it. So Mike was busy renovating and like always go. And then it just gets so foggy.
Yeah.
Then, he went for a scan and they found another tumor.
Okay. In a different spot?
It was in the same spot.
In the same spot.
So they're like, well, we met with the neurosurgeon and he's like, I think we're going to do a laser ablation instead of full craniotomy.
Got it. Yeah.
And I think, I'm pretty positive we can get it. It'll be less invasive,
Yeah.
So he had this laser ablation. Yes, so it was after Emmy.
Okay.
Because I think it was like June of 2020. We, like, for his other surgeries, like, his parents always came with. Like, there was always someone there. Well, we couldn't have that. And then it was COVID.
COVID, yep.
And I couldn't be there for him. So I literally had to drop him off in front of the hospital.
Oh, geez.
Which was really hard. Because I'm like, okay, see you later. Like, I'll see you in a day or two. Like, know, like.
Right.
So that was tough. That day, my friend came down. She drove down to the cities and she took me out to lunch and we just did some shopping to try to, like,
take your mind off of
it.
Yeah.
Because it's, again, like, it was COVID. There was only certain hotels that were open at that point, and, like, no food was being served. It was just very, like, weird.
Right.
So, you know, throughout the surgery, that was probably like a 4-hour surgery. So it wasn't, as long.
Yeah.
They would be giving me calls throughout, which was really nice. So I wasn't like just in the, like, oh, okay, what's going on here? And surgery went well. And they're like, you know, I had talked to Mike that evening and he was doing good. And I'm like, hey, like, wow. Like, and he didn't really look beat up as much as like the other surgeries. Right. I don't know if Avea's,
she did.
If she looked kind of black and blue and swollen.
Her one side did.
Yeah.
She had brain surgery on both sides. The one side that she had her stroke, her face was very swollen.
Yeah.
Her eyes were poofy.
Yeah.
But
Surgery
then the other one,
longer.
it was longer. But then the other side, I was like, oh, you look like great.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm ready to go home. Like,
yeah.
You just had brain surgery.
I know.
But yeah.
And so I think he went home. Like, I think we went home the next day. And I'm like, are you sure you don't want to just spend another night down? He's like, nope, I want to go home and I want to see your daughter. And I want, like, and again, that was, I think, our first time away from our daughter. So, like, she was born in March. It's June. So I'm leaving my daughter for the first time.
Yeah.
Like, granted, she was with his parents, which trust them. Like, they're great. But it's like, you're leaving your baby and for a night or two, like, you're like, this is weird.
Yeah.
So, you know, we got home and he, like, recovered fine and he was doing good. And then they called and it was his neurosurgeon that called.
And it's normally a nurse.
Like, usually it's a nurse or like
assistant doctor.
Yeah, like it's, you know, like a PA or something. Yeah. And I'm like, why is Dr. Hunt calling?
Yeah.
And he's like, it came back and it's a grade 4 glioblastoma.
Oh, God.
And if you know anything about brain tumors, that's the most aggressive. It's not a good outcome. There's no more. There's no other surgeries or, you know,
that's
like
exactly what you didn't want to hear.
I just like looked at my husband and I'm like, what the heck? Like, we just had our daughter and now you have a brain tumor that is not curable.
Yeah.
Like, and I knew this was a possibility, but you don't ever think that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But his neurosurgeon's like, you know what? I'm not worried. Like, I'm really, me and your oncologist have talked. We're going to be starting you on a new chemo. Like, I really think we got ahead of this. Like, it's good. And so I'm like, okay, here we go. Like, and again, Mike just took it with stride. Like, okay, I guess, well, give me the chemo, whatever I have to do. Like, you know, and I'm crying and I'm worried. And so did a chemo, and that one was like shorter. And I know I keep saying this, but like time really is like fuzzy. Like I honestly can't remember a lot of.
Yeah, it's okay.
But we did the chemo, and you know, it was fine. And his neuro-oncologist she was just starting a clinical trial.
Okay, yep.
And she's like, you're a perfect candidate for this clinical trial, but it requires you have to be down in the cities for a month and a half, because it's like 5 days a week where you get an injection in your neck. And, you know, you have to be within so many miles of the hospital. Well, we live in Duluth.
Yeah.
Cities, like, wasn't going to happen. And again, this is all still during COVID time. I'm like, okay, well, we have this baby.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I guess. And they had given us some options. They're like, there's a couple hotels that, you know, are good about leases and letting you stay there for longer term. And
yeah.
So we ended up staying at the Graduate Hotel, which is connected to the main U. And, you know, he would go in every day and he'd have this like 20-minute injection where it's like literally like a needle going into like your neck.
Ugh.
And it's injecting this medicine to hopefully like shrink down and kill like the arms that are trying to
spread.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this was happening. And, you know, I'm like thinking of having a infant in a hotel is really fun. Like, trying to clean bottles in a bathroom in a hotel and trying to keep her occupied.
Like
she's probably 6 months old? 7, 8 months, you know, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like,
and you can't really like just go do anything.
No,
because everything's closed.
Yeah. So like, you know, it's really like limited of like, okay, we're kind of just stuck in this hotel. And so I ended up going home a lot.
Yeah.
And then he had like his dad and mom came down a couple times to be with him because they wanted someone with him at all times, just in case he had some kind of reaction or anything. And then if they couldn't, then he had a friend of his that would go down and stay with him a night or two and then go, which was a blessing. Like, I'm so thankful for those friends and his family that's, you know, stepped up and were there, because like I can't be here for a month and a half, like with this newborn. Like, I'm going crazy, she's going crazy, and plus Mike was really tired throughout this. Like, he wanted to sleep a lot. And so I'm like, she's whining and crying and like, you know, bouncing around, and this is,
and I have to be quiet. You're sleeping. That makes sense.
It just was hard. So,
like you feel trapped.
Yeah, it was very, claustrophobic, I feel like.
Yeah.
And because then he did have another round of radiation at that point too.
Okay.
And that was only 2 weeks, and that was actually at the main U because it was going to be radiation clinical trial. Okay. So like we just had it all together.
Yeah.
And so, you know, he's tolerating the clinical trial well, just very tired. And for some reason, again, I don't know, he had to stop it. I don't know if he had to go, like, he got sick or I don't know. But he ended up having to stop it. And if you stop it, you have to start back at the beginning.
Oh.
And you have to go a month and a half.
Jeez.
So then at that point, it's like, okay, here we go. Another month and a half lease with
Yeah.
the hotel. Like, we're going back and forth.
And he's definitely not working at this time.
Yeah, he's not working.
Okay.
And so we're like, okay, here we are. And at this point, Emmy was a little bit older. I think she's like 1.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of pictures of her in the hospital.
Yeah.
Like watching him get his injections.
Yeah.
Like, she just had to become flexible. I mean, like she was in the car all the time, like from birth to, like driving 2.5 hours. Like, it just that was her life. And being in waiting rooms and being in a hospital, like that was kind of our life.
Yeah.
And at this point, I wasn't working. I took a leave because I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it was around February, maybe of 22, I think. He went in, and I wasn't actually at this appointment for him. I was in Duluth. He was with his friend, and he went to the appointment, and it was just after an MRI, and they found that it wasn't working.
The trial failed.
Yep. And that was really hard because there was a time when he was on the trial that there was like 5 people on this trial, and he was the one that was like responding.
Yeah.
And like, I just remember his neuro-oncologist like giving us a hug, and she was just so like, I was crying, she was crying, like, like this is working. Like, this is, and I'm like thinking, he's going to be the one to beat this. He's going to be the one to be able to tell the story that he was the first person to beat glioblastoma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, that's him.
Yeah.
Because of how he was as a person, how he dealt with things through everything. I'm like, nope, he's going to beat this.
Yeah.
And so when Mike, when they went in and they said it's not working, he walked back to the hotel, and his friend that was with him was at the hotel, whatever, and his friend's like, oh, you're back quick. Like, he's like, well, we're packing up, we're going. And he's like, what do you mean we're packing up and going? He's like, well, clinical trial's not working. Like, what? Like, and Mike's like, okay, we'll just pack the bags and we're off. We're checking out. And he calls me and he's like, I'll be on my way home. And I'm like, why? Like, what's going on? And he's like, well, it's not responding anymore. And I'm like, what? And so I'm just sick, like, because then I feel guilty because I'm not there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a bad wife because I'm like, I should be there with him, and yet his friend's there and I'm not. Like, and like, I just remember that like 2.5 hours of just, my stomach was just sick, waiting for him to get home. And, he didn't talk a lot about it, just saying it wasn't working. And I'm like, what? Like, it was working so great. And like, what's going on? And so he came home and I'm like, what? He's just like, well, it just isn't working. And I'm like, well, okay, but what now?
Right. Yeah.
And he's like, well, I think they're going to try me on another chemo.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, okay. He's like, but we have an appointment with the neuro-oncologist in like a couple days, and so we had an appointment with her. She's telling us about this different chemo that he's going to try, and that has been like beneficial, like it's shown results of like slowing things down and well tolerated again. And Mike's like, okay, sign me up, whatever I have to do, like, and so he started this chemo. At this point, this is where I feel like he started time for him kind of just like went.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't have time concept at all.
Yeah.
Like he used to be very punctual on his time. Like I have to be to work 10 minutes before my shift. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah.
On time
was
he was
late.
on
Early
time.
was
Yes.
on time.
Yeah. And he started becoming more late. And I'm like, okay, this is not you. And I'm like, then he'd take a shower. And usually, like, his showers are like maybe 10 minutes at the very most, And then it was like, it's getting to be like 15, 20-minute showers. And I'm like, okay, come on. Like, what's going on? And then just kind of rapidly, like, started like, okay, then he would leave for work at his start time. Like, he's supposed to start at 3 and he's walking out the door at 3. And I'm like, you
should have been there.
You need to be there. And at this point, I'm getting frustrated because I don't know, like, hey, like, why aren't you getting this? Like, come on, like, you need to be at work. Like, why are you not? You just are so nonchalant, like, oh, whatever, and luckily where he worked, his uncle was his supervisor.
Oh, okay.
So his uncle knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And actually, thankfully, was like allowed him. Like he actually ended up changing his like time to get into work, so it wasn't. He had some more time, and he was just very flexible. And a lot of times, I would have to call his uncle and just be like, "Okay, Mike just left for work." Like, okay, I figured, like, it's fine. Yeah. Like, I'll just stay extra. It's fine. No big deal.
Yeah.
And the chemos at that point were starting to get a little bit more, like, he was starting to have more, like, reactions. Like, not feeling very good, very tired. It just, his energy wasn't there.
Right.
Then, I think then he started getting really sick from a chemo.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, let's take him off this. We're going to put him on this other chemo that's more well tolerated. And then it was like probably a month of him being on that. And like, again, he wasn't feeling good. And again, the time thing was just getting more and more like,
he just became
like,
different.
He didn't care.
Yeah.
Like, he just didn't care.
Right.
And, I was like, oh, what? It's good enough. And he was always like, even like with house projects and everything, it was very like, this is how it has to be. It's very nice, like neat, and he just kind of like, oh, whatever. It's fine.
Right.
I'm like, this is what's going on? Like, this is not you.
Yeah.
And, I kick myself still. And I know, like, I tried my best through all, but, like, I think and I still talk to my therapist about this. It's like, why did I get mad at him? Like, I was getting mad at him for being late or taking a shower that was, like, an hour long or, like, get out of bed. Like, why aren't you out of bed? And it was like, I shouldn't have got mad at him, but at the same time, like, this was not him. And even through all his surgeries and all his treatments, like, he never acted like any of this. So it was like, what is going on? Like, why are you not caring,
Yeah.
Do you think in your mind, you almost felt like he was like giving up, like you weren't fighting anymore
like,
for it?
Part of me, I felt like he was kind of like, I'm done.
Yeah.
But
also,
at the same time, he like, like, I'm just ticked.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I know he wasn't giving up. I know I still think to this day he wasn't giving up until the very end.
Yeah.
but I just don't think he even knew who he was anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wish I would have known more about like the progression of brain tumors.
Right.
Like, and
it's like you don't know.
You just want
go through it.
To like. I remember one of his early on appointments. I don't know if it was the neurosurgeon or the neuro-oncologist said like, Google's your worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, don't Google things because you're gonna end up going down a rabbit hole of tomorrow's his last day.
Yep.
This is like everything you're dying from.
Yeah.
And so both Mike and I like kind of told ourselves like, we're just not gonna Google.
Yeah.
Like
I'm not allowed to be on Google anymore.
Yeah.
Either, so I get it. Because I'm like, oh, I'm dying.
Yep.
Or if I'm Googling anything about anybody.
Yeah.
I cannot.
No.
Yeah.
So we kind of vowed in the beginning that like, we're just not gonna, it is what it is. Like, and that was his motto. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, this is what I was dealt and I'm just gonna deal with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so we, at that time, chemos were getting him sick. We tried maybe 3 different chemos. Then in May, I don't know, March, April, I don't know. He went in again for a scan and there was another tumor growing.
Oh, God.
And they're like, we think we need to zap it. Like, I think we'll do a laser ablation.
Okay.
We won't do the full brain surgery. And like his neuro-oncologist, like, I feel very confident. Like I don't want to do a full-on craniotomy, a full brain surgery.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, that's what we're gonna do. And actually, that appointment that we're supposed to meet with the neuro-oncologist or the neurosurgeon, his time thing was not there. So I'm like, we need to get in the car. Like, your appointment's at 10 or whatever time it was.
Yeah.
I'm like, we gotta go. Well, again, we were late.
Yeah.
And I think we were like in Barnum or something like that. And I'm like, we're not gonna make this appointment.
Yeah.
Like, there's just no way. So I called. I'm like, we're not gonna make this appointment. And the receptionist like, let me talk to Dr. Hunt. I'll get back to you. And she's like, he'll just do a phone appointment. It's fine. You're good. Like, I'm like, okay, good. So since we were already like, Mike's mom was watching Emmy, and I'm like, I need to go to Trader Joe's. Like, we're already almost halfway. Like, let's just go down the cities. We know we're already going to miss the appointment, but we'll sit in the parking lot at Trader Joe's, listen to the appointment, and then we'll do our shopping and go home.
Mm-hmm.
Go to lunch. And so we're in the parking lot of Trader Joe's on the phone with his neurosurgeon, and he's telling us like, I feel confident, like, we can get most of it, and like, it's going to be be good. So we're like, okay, I guess that's what you think. And you think, we never felt like we weren't confident with their like decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went home, and I think they had scheduled the appointment for like maybe April or something like that. And one of his best friends was getting married, and they were having a bachelor
party
weekend.
Yeah, weekend.
And Mike was the best man, and so we knew Mike's surgery is coming up, but like, COVID's been good to us. Like, he hasn't gotten COVID through all of this. Like,
yeah.
And his like best friend is very careful about like COVID, and like, they all tested before and everything was like, we're good. So they went, it was actually just down the cities. They went to like a Wild game and the Twins game and whatever. And Mike got home that Sunday or whatever. And I think Monday he started getting sick.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay. And we test him, and sure enough, he has COVID.
Okay.
So then I call the U and I'm like, okay, Mike has COVID. What now? And they're like, well, we can't do his surgery. We have to wait so many weeks.
Yep.
And like, okay, so we pushed that back to May. I think it was like May. And he actually was really sick with the COVID. Like they put him on the medication.
Oh.
I don't know what it was, but he was sick.
Yeah.
But went through that. We go to his first surgery, and we go in. So usually the day before a surgery, do an MRI, then surgery is the next day.
Yep.
And we're waiting in the waiting room. We go get called in for his appointment with the neurosurgeon, and he's like, I don't feel confident in doing this surgery
anymore.
It's grown too much.
Mm.
I just, like I've been doing this for a long time. I'll do it if you guys really want me to, but I don't think it's in your best interest. And like, oh, okay. And he's like, but we can, because a lot of times when they see like stuff in the brain, it could be necrosis of scarring from radiation.
Yeah.
So sometimes they don't know if it's tumor. It may look like a tumor, but it really isn't.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, but he said, I can go in with a probe and do a biopsy of it just to see if it is tumor or not. And we're like, okay, yeah. And so, they did that, and it was really easy. Like, I think he stayed in the hospital for the night and whatever. And then he came home, and I think we were home for a day or two, and all of a sudden he wakes up, and his head is just wet, and the pillow's wet. And I'm like, your incision, like, is leaking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's hot.
Oh,
like,
my gosh.
Oh, jeez.
And like, okay, call the U. They're like, it's okay, but you need to get down here.
Yeah.
So here we are, like, packing up got Emmy, him. I'm like, get in the car, like, going.
Yeah.
And it ended up being where just a stitch had like come out, and they just had to restitch it. And it was just some spinal fluid that was coming out. It wasn't anything detrimental, but they had to make sure.
Right.
And so we made the best out of that trip. We're like, we're just, I guess we're going to stay at a hotel and go swimming and go to dinner and have Emmy, like, we're going to go to Chemo Zoo and like, just make it fun for her.
Yeah.
Then, but after that surgery, he just wasn't bouncing back.
Yeah.
Like, usually was, back mowing the lawn and just doing his normal stuff. And he wasn't. And he was in his friend's wedding in June in California. And this was like 2 weeks before, like, or, after his surgery. And I'm like, I don't know if he's going to be able to even do this wedding. Like, I just don't think. But Mike being Mike, he's like, nope, I'm doing it. He's my best man, or I'm his best man. I'm going to be there. That's what I do. And so he was there, and that trip was tough. Like, he struggled. But he stood there. He gave a speech. Like, Mike doesn't talk. He's not a talker. He's very quiet.
Yeah.
So for him to actually get up and do a speech was like, shocking. And so after that, he started having incontinence. Started having just not stable on his feet.
Yeah.
We just kind of, things were going downhill.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what is going on? And he was getting sick from the chemo. And we finally, they're like, well, let's do some Avastin treatments where, like, it helps with nauseousness and stuff like that. And it's like I don't know. So he was going down to the cities every like week for those infusions.
Yeah.
And then in August he had his scan, and we had rented a cabin with his family, his parents. We were going straight from the cabin to his appointment. Mm-hmm. So we had Emmy with us. And we walk in the room, and I was a pretty good judge of when his neurosurgeon walked in.
Yeah.
I could kind of tell, like, okay, this is good or bad news.
Right.
And she wasn't like the bubbly, like, how's it going? She's just like, hi guys. And I'm like, hi. And usually she'd get straight to the point, like, scans clear, great thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And she didn't. And I'm like, there's no more we can do. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, there's no more? Like, what are you saying? Like, and it's just like, we've tried everything. There's just like, if there was something, I would do it for you guys. Like, there's just nothing. Just like, you can, if you want to do another round of radiation, you can. We'll talk to the radiologist and see if he's comfortable with it. But other than that, like, nothing else. Nothing's responding.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And Mike was just kind of like just sitting there, and I'm like, she's talking and playing with Emmy, and I'm like, what's going on? And she went out of the room to get something, and I followed her.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you telling me? And she's, I'm so sorry. And she just started crying. She gave me a big hug, and she's like, I think he might have 2 to 3 months.
Oh my God.
And I fell apart, and I'm like, what? Like, how? How does this happen? And so, that appointment was that. Like,
do they say after that? Do they say just like, okay, just go home?
Yeah, like she just said. So she said, like, let's set up an appointment with a radiologist to see about doing radiation again. And then she's like, then your next steps, it'll be hospice.
Oh.
And I'm like, I didn't really know a lot about hospice. I knew because my mom at that point was in a nursing home of having dementia. And she was on hospice. So I knew that it wasn't like, when we first heard my mom was going on hospice, you just think, well, they're going to die tomorrow.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
But like, it's not that.
Yeah.
It's just to help them be comfortable and whatever.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so I guess, it doesn't mean he's going tomorrow. And we did meet with the radiologist, and the radiologist is like, I feel confident doing this, but again, it's 2 weeks of your life. You're going to be down here every day.
Yeah.
You're going to be tired. There's going to be some side effects, and it may give you another month or 2. We don't know.
Right.
And Mike and I looked at each other, and we said, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I don't either.
Yeah.
And he said, I just want to go live.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, yep, we're just going to live. And one of the best advices he had gotten from his neurosurgeon, this was like probably the first time we met him after one of his treatments or something. I think it was neuro-oncology. One of them had said, when you get a diagnosis like this, you can either sit in bed and cry and mope and feel sorry for yourself and do all these treatments and feel like crap, or you can live it and start living your life.
Yeah.
And we took that to heart.
Yeah.
So like we traveled a lot and we did a lot because I'm like, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like we're just going to start doing things.
Yeah.
And that was the best advice a doctor's ever given us.
Yeah.
Because it's so true. Like why, like just sit there and mope and cry and feel like crap because you're going through all these treatments and surgeries and that was the end of your life? Like real fun.
Yeah. And it's like you can't change it anyway.
No.
So
just let's live.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so after that, when we decided he wasn't going to do the radiation, you know, it was just morbid. Like it was like I don't think Mike even, he was in shock because I told him that day when we were driving home.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, when I went out of the room, I talked with Dr. Neal. And he's like, yeah, what did she say? And I'm like, you might have 2 to 3 months. And he's like, oh, really? Like,
to hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, like, I mean, it's hard for me, but then to have someone tell you you have 2 to 3 months to live.
Yeah.
Like, how do you take that? Like, I can't even.
No.
So it was, I was trying to take videos and like just everything. And
you guys went on trips.
Yeah, I said, is there anything you want to do?
Yeah.
And he said, I want to bring my daughter to Disney World. And I want to go to Jamaica one last time. I said, I don't care. Like, I don't care what it costs. We're doing it. So we brought Emmy to Disney World and she got to experience Disney with her dad. Mm-hmm. And we went to Jamaica and we lived it up. It was definitely not the Jamaican trip that we normally have been on. Like, he was sleeping more and not enjoying the pool as much and the ocean.
Yeah.
But he still went.
Yeah.
And then we that was like in September, and I think that Christmas, the hospice place that they had a grant and they gave us a trip up the North Shore for like 5 days at one of the resorts. And so we went up there and we stopped in Two Harbors at the grocery store, and he was walking in and he didn't want his walker. He didn't want any, like, he's going to do it himself. And he ended up falling in the entryway, and the ambulance had to come, but he got up on his own. He was fine.
Yeah.
But I just am like, yeah, this is not going good.
Yeah.
And so that was Christmas time, and you know, the holidays just sucked because it's like, this is probably going to be the last Thanksgiving. This is probably going to be the last Christmas. This is, you know.
Yeah.
But then he kept rallying, and, you know, he was always like, you know, hospice would come and they'd take his vitals, and I'm like, what's the point of this?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, this is really nothing.
Right. Hospice is way different than I thought it was.
And
like,
they just come and they're like, oh, okay, your vitals look good. Bye. And I'm like, okay. Like, okay. And then it was about beginning of February, and he had fallen.
Okay.
And I couldn't get him up, and his parents had to come and get him up. And after that, that's when they delivered the hospice bed and, you know, had all the equipment for us. the commode and all that. Yeah. And he didn't want to use those things. He's like bound and determined he was gonna sleep in his own bed, and he's not using a commode. He's using the bathroom, and like he's gonna do it all. But he couldn't.
Right.
And at that point, I physically couldn't carry. Like I couldn't lift him anymore. I couldn't transfer him. I couldn't get him on the toilet. Like, and when you're a brain tumor, like if you have brain cancer, you end up swelling. So I mean, he was blown up. Like I mean, he was like large.
Yeah.
Like, it just happens, and it's like, this is not you. Like, whoa.
Yeah. Right.
So his parents his mom took work off and started like being there every day with me, and his dad would come in every night, and they would go home at night. And you know, Emmy she loved when hospice would come because she would help him. Like towards the end, you know, like he didn't want help from hospice, like showering, anything. He didn't want help, but we finally are like, no, you need, like, I can't do this.
Right.
And I remember getting, mad at him. And like, dude, like, you gotta listen. Like, you need this.
Yeah.
And, we argued a lot. Like, and I hate that.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that we fought. There was times when, like, told his parents, I'm like, you take him. Yeah. I need to leave.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do this.
Well, it's like almost like it's not him.
No,
because
it wasn't.
His brain, he's so different.
Yeah. And I mean, he was mean.
Yeah.
He was angry. He was yelling. Like, I'm like, I don't even know who you are. Yeah. Like, this is not you.
I was so frustrated.
Yes.
Like, I can't do what I know I can.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I can't.
Yeah. And so then about Valentine's Day, and Emmy made him this picture of her and him, and she painted this heart frame and gave it to him. And, we just enjoyed dinners in the living room, and she'd eat dinner in bed with him, and she thought the bed in the living room was like the coolest thing ever. And it's like, not that cool, honey.
Yeah.
Like she's 2 at this point.
Right.
And she'd brush his hair, and like, every time the nurse came, she got her nurse's bag out and would take, it was just cute. And she didn't know, like, just thought like, this is what it is. And like the weekend before he passed, like all of a sudden it's like he was playing hockey with Emmy in the hallway. Like he was sitting in his chair, but like he's playing with the puck and the stick, and he's shooting, and I'm like, oh my god, like maybe he's rallying, like, oh my god, like he's back, like this is Mike. And then that like Monday, it was like, no, that was his like last rally.
Yeah.
His breathing started getting worse, and he just was just kind of like there, and so February 25th, so that night before, we were giving him morphine a lot because he was just every hour on the hour. So like his mom and I were like up every hour on the hour giving him. And I don't know if you've ever experienced someone dying, but like it's really tough to watch because you think, how are they not hurting? But hospice kept telling us like, he doesn't feel this. He's not feeling it. But I'm like, he's like gasping for air, and like, how is he not hurting right now? And so that next day, it was just every hour on the hour we were giving him morphine. And like, you're thinking, I didn't know I was a nurse. Like all of a sudden I'm now giving my husband morphine, and I'm changing his, I'm transferring him, I'm changing him, like I'm doing all these things. I'm like, okay, like, wasn't hospice supposed to do any of this?
Yeah.
Same thing when my grandma went, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm doing a lot.
Yeah. Like,
and they're there once a day.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. So now I okay. And that day we had a ton of family coming over, and that day he said, I want to see my grandpa.
Oh.
And so I called his grandpa. I said, Mike wants to see you. And he named two of his friends. It's like, I want to see. They're both Johns. It's like, I want to see John and Johnny. I'm like, okay, get them over here. And, then like my sister and her family and my dad and his parents and his sister and brother. And I'm like, we just had people in and out.
Yeah.
And then the aide was there kind of cleaning them up. And I just said, well, she said, it's getting close. And I'm like, okay. And so I just sat with them. And it, like, Emmy was just so calm that whole day. So Emmy is just like calm and like, and all of a sudden she just like goes off in the corner of our living room, and she had a little toy box, and she's just sitting playing and like just doing her own thing. And I sit next to Mike, and right then I'm like, it's happening, I know this. And he took his last breath. I just held him. And like she didn't know, like, but then after he like went, she came walking over and laid next to him. And we just, all the three of us just laid there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we laid there for probably half an hour or so. Like, I just didn't want to. And she was like, she just laid there. And I'm like, I don't know, like that intuition of something she knew. Like, I don't know. And I think we kept him home, there for a couple hours, just because by the time hospice came and did paperwork, and then he called the mortuary, and I laid there with him.
Yeah. Did you feel like, because with me, my grandma, I just felt like it felt like such a struggle.
Yeah.
And I was like, please, grandma, just like stop. Like, it's like you almost
just let go.
Yeah.
And I did at one point. I just said, Mike, it's okay.
It's okay.
You're safe.
Yeah.
And I think he knew that last day.
Yeah.
Like, I just think he wanted to see those people.
Yeah.
No. And I think he just knew it was going to be his day. And
yeah.
And so then, life afterwards.
Right.
Like, I have a 2-year-old, and I am supposed to do what? Like, what am I supposed to do?
Am I supposed to go back to work?
Yeah.
Now?
And I know God provided for us our daughter. Mm-hmm. Even though, like I said, we wanted this boy, we're like, we're gonna have a boy, and I knew God knew that she's gonna need a girl, because there's a special bond between a daughter and a mom. And as much as I was angry that God brought this wonderful daughter in our lives, I was mad, because I'm like, we waited so long for this, and then you take her dad away from us. Like, why? But I know God gave me that girl, and he knew I was going to need someone to get through this.
Yeah.
Because she's my everything. Mm-hmm. She's what's got me through. Mm-hmm. She's the reason I wake up in the morning. She I want her to know her dad. So we talk about him all the time.
Yeah.
His school has honored him, like his high school has honored him. Like they retired his baseball number. They made a hockey award for him, and Emmy now hands out every year to the recipient. Like Mike was such a humble person. He never he was good at what he did, but never would tell anyone.
Right.
And, he had so many friends and so many things. And it's like, I even still to this day, I'm learning things about him. And I'm like, oh my God, he did that? Like, what? Like, this is amazing, And, so Emmy and I, we just live. Yeah. And, we told Mike and I had talked before when she was, before we had her, or when we had her, we're like, we really want her to see every 50 states before she graduates.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? That's what we're doing. So right now we're on I think 12 states. I mean, but we're going to do the things that Mike and I talked about.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Mike wouldn't want me sitting at home crying and not living.
Yeah.
I'm not working right now, and what's hard is they're like, how are you not working? Or why are you not working? Or how are you doing this? And it's like, this is what God has gave me right now.
Yeah.
This is what I have to do.
Yeah.
And you won't know it until you go through it.
Yeah.
100%.
So true.
Because, some people have to go to work, and that's just, they're like, that's how I get through, or, whatever.
Right.
For me, I can't. And my daughter needs me, and my daughter is my number one priority right now.
Yep.
Right.
And you just make it work.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, as much as life has thrown so much at us that has been rotten, I know Mike wants us to continue to live and be happy and not mope and not sit in bed and cry every day.
Right.
Because he didn't do that.
Yep.
I mean, he could have. I think of the time, if it were me and I was told, you're going to die from this disease, I don't think I would be able to just be like, okay, well, let's just keep living my life.
I'm going to work tomorrow.
Yep.
You're like,
well, yeah. I would probably be in bed, and I'd probably be depressed and not a very good person.
You learned a lot of strength from him.
So much strength through what he went through, and that's why I want him, or I want us to live how he did.
Right. Yeah.
And I want people to know that, it sucks.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of days where I cry and I, hide my tears from my daughter, or I cry with her, or she cries because she misses them.
Mm-hmm. It's the only way, it's your way of honoring him.
Yes.
And that I think that's all I would want to do if we were in that situation it's okay, it's my duty now.
Yep.
To do what he wanted.
Carry it on.
Yeah.
I have to carry on, which is hard because it's this other thing on your shoulder of oh God, I have to live this life of, and you never expect that you're going to raise a kid by yourself.
Right. No. Right.
And someone told me once, they're like, oh, single parenting. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a single mom. And then another person I know, they're like, no, you're not a single mom. You're, oh God, what was it called? I don't know but it was something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't single mom.
Right.
It was you're the only person, because a single mom or dad a lot of times has okay, they have a weekend where, the dad or the mom takes them, or, someone takes them off their hands for a while. I don't have that. I'm,
You are the mom and dad.
Solo parent.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I am a solo parent. I'm thankful I have, family that help out.
Mm.
But like, they're not there every day.
Right.
Like, and you can't depend on them every day.
Right. Yeah.
So you do have to just live.
I think that's so hard because it's like you're doing both.
Yeah.
Like you're being him, but you're also being you.
Yeah.
And like, what would he want too?
Yeah.
So what do you feel like was the most helpful thing that people did for you during this whole time? Like this, and even now, I should say, because.
Well, throughout all of it, we had an amazing community.
Mm-hmm.
The Hermantown community that he grew up in was amazing.
Yeah.
They did 2 benefits for us.
Yeah.
Which I'm so thankful for that paid for our medical debt.
Yeah.
So they really rallied and came for us and just showed up, which is what we needed.
Right.
People just showing up and just doing.
Yeah.
Because when you're in it, I don't know what I want.
Right.
The thing I want, you can't give me. I want my husband better.
Mm-hmm.
I want him to live.
Yeah.
I want him back.
Yeah.
Like, so you're asking me what I need? I don't know. Like, the thing I want, you can't give me. So
nothing else. You're like, but for real, like,
and I think I think a lot of people don't know what to say to me, which I've found very interesting.
Yeah.
I've learned that like everyone at the funeral was like, whatever you need, you call us, whatever, whenever, however, like you just tell me and we'll be there. And it's funny how that I've called or, asked and that doesn't show up. So I guess my biggest thing is I've taken away, don't say whatever you need.
Yeah.
Because you need to be able to step up. Like, you need, then if that's what you're going to do, then step up and bring a meal over or take my child off my hands for a couple hours so I can have a breathing moment. Like,
don't just give me lip service.
I feel like words mean nothing unless there is an action actually behind it.
Yes.
And most of the time, there's not.
Yeah. And which is sad because it was like, thinking, oh, this is amazing. Like all these people, like, and it drops off. Like after the funeral, like no one talks, a lot of people don't even mention Mike's name. I'm like, no, mention Mike's name. Talk about him.
Yeah. I think that's one thing that it's like, okay, I don't want to trigger you.
Yes.
By saying it and like you're going to cry. But also it's like, but you want to talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you want him to be like, he's still here.
Emmy needs to learn about him.
Yes.
Hear these things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think people are just like, oh, well, we might trigger something. It's like, don't walk on eggshells around me. I'm still Jen. I'm still the person I was before.
Yeah.
Yes, I lost my husband. I miss him. I'm sad.
But I want to talk about him.
And yes, maybe I post on my Facebook page or my Instagram like grief sayings or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm like struggling and like, because some people are like, oh, they'll message me, are you okay? Like, do you need help? And I'm like, no, I see a therapist. Okay. Like, I'm not okay.
Right.
Like, I miss my husband. My husband should be here. I'm raising my daughter by my own, like without my husband, her dad. Like, I'm not okay, but I'm functioning. I can get out of bed. I'm, like we're living.
Yeah.
Like we're doing fine. It's just, I'm going to show you, like, I'm going to tell you that I'm sad or I'm going to put it out there. Like,
right.
If a memory pops up, I'll maybe post it and be like, miss you, babe. Like, I'd give anything to have you back. Like, I'm not going to sweep it under the rug.
Right. No. Right.
Those were my life. That was my life. So yeah, like for your question, I guess reeling back to that is actually just showing up and not like asking.
Yeah.
You don't, I don't know what I want. Like during it, I didn't know what I wanted. I just was like, I don't know. I need meals. I need, you know, I need money. I need like someone to mow the lawn or snow blow the driveway or, you know, like a break so I can have a moment to go to the grocery store. Like anything. Yeah. And I know for myself, I really try to work on that. Like if I have someone that I know that's struggling or going through something, I consciously like, okay, instead of just asking, I'm just going to bring them a coffee.
Yeah.
You know, or like do something instead of being like, oh, well, praying.
Let me know what you need.
Praying for you. It's like, well, are you praying for me?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that's the easiest word to say is praying.
Yeah. But is there an actual prayer?
Yeah.
Being, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've been quiet over here because I think this is the most I've cried during the entire podcast episode. But story's so inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing it. And you are doing an incredible job keeping his memory alive.
And you can just feel that you just loved him so much.
Yeah.
And you still love him.
Yeah.
You still do.
Yep.
And that's really inspiring to see. So we just want to thank you for coming and sharing. And
thanks for having me.
Of course. I can't wait to see pictures.
Yeah.
I need to see pictures.
Yeah.
We're going to end it there.
Yeah.
I don't even.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
You,
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.